Walter's Sports Bar has been recognized by many local publications as one of the best sports bars in Washington, D.C., located across the street from Nationals Park and open year-round.
Craftsman Days are here at Lowe's with big savings on the tools you need. Save $100 on the Craftsman V20 6-tool Power Tool Combo Kit, now at $199. No matter what the project is, Craftsman's high-quality, high-performance products empower you to build on. Stop by your nearest Lowe's store and check out the full line of Craftsman tools today. Valid through 6/18 while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
Hassell III! A nice hand for a rookie making his big league debut.
Many Nationals fans on their feet standing for him.
The 23-year-old digs in from the left side of the plate, facing A.J. Smith-Shawver. The first pitch to Hassell is a line drive, base hit right field. He's batting 1,000. Robert Hassell III turns around a 98-mile-per-hour fastball on the first pitch he sees in the major leagues. He gets a hug from his first base coach, Gerardo Parra. And the Braves' Matt Olson will toss that ball to the Nationals dugout. Congratulations, Robert Hassell III. He may feel like it took him a while to get here. Doesn't take him long to get in the hit column. Now the set at the belt. The 0-2 coming. Swing on land drive hammered. It is fair. Inside the first base line. It hits the sidewall. Shoots out to right field. Call scores. Tena scores. Abrams stumbles around third. The throw home is offline and CJ scores anyway. James Wood clears the bases with a double. The Nationals 5 and the Braves 2. Williams at first. Nationals 7, Braves 6. Now the 2-0. Swinging a ground ball to third. Tena bobbles it, picks it up, and now can't pick it up. That was a potential game-ending double play ball, and Tena is unable to get it out anywhere. In and out of his glove initially, then he still had time to get it out somewhere, but when he tried to pick it up, he dropped the ball. And that is an E5 instead of game over. Runner at second, runner at first, one out for Matt Olson.
That's trying to win in extra innings for the first time. Rosario against Lee, 1 for 2, a single and a pop-up. The pitch. Swinging a line drive, base hit into left field. Here comes Robert Hassell to score, and a Curly W's in the books.
And welcome to Nats Chat, along with MASNsports.com Nationals insider Mark Zuckerman, who is at Nationals Park. I'm Al Galdi, host of the Al Galdi podcast. The Nats have responded to their 7-game losing streak by going 6-1 over their next 7 games. So the Nats on Thursday evening won their 5th consecutive game, an 8-7, 10-inning win over the Atlanta Braves at Nationals Park to complete a sweep of 2 games in what was supposed to be a 3-game series, but Wednesday evening's game got rained out. The Nats on Thursday evening won despite blowing a 5-2 4th-inning lead and despite blowing a 7-6 9th-inning lead. The Nats in MLB's 2025 regular season now up to being 23-27. This installment of Nats Chat brought to us by Mason Kalfas, the top legal recruiter in Washington, D.C. Mason has been with us since our first season. You can reach him at 202-486-3535. This game on Thursday evening, very much a feel-good game. We had a successful Major League regular season debut for outfielder Robert Hassell III. We had a big performance by outfielder James Wood. We had catcher Keibert Ruiz performing well with his parents in attendance. We did also have another bad outing by starting pitcher Trevor Williams. We did have a blown save by closer Kyle Finnegan. We'll get to those things. But Mark, a lot of good vibes at Nationals Park on Thursday evening.
It was a feel-good night, Alan. Yeah, no, it didn't all go perfectly according to plan, but you know what? There's something to be said for a team overcoming some things that didn't go their way, including a blown save in the 9th, and just kind of calmly coming right back and winning the game in walk-off fashion. The tide has turned here. This looks like a different team right now. They are hitting, they're scoring runs, especially early. I know they technically blew this one, but the bullpen has been much, much better. And I'm not really putting this one on the bullpen because it really boiled down to an error by Jose Tena that could have ended the game, that prolonged it instead. And then even when they did blow it, you had Jackson Rutledge come in and strand the inherited runner in the top of the 10th, and then perfect execution offensively from them in the bottom of the 10th. Alex Call, sacrifice bunt, Amed Rosario, pinch hit, walk-off single. Remember how much they struggled in extra innings since the new rule was installed with the automatic runner? I feel like the tide is turning there. They got to the 10th inning, and what could have been a demoralizing moment after blowing the lead in the 9th, I feel like they seized control of this game right back, didn't allow the Braves to score, and then came right out and immediately scored their winning run themselves.
Well, and you think about where the Nats were at the 7-game losing streak point, which, by the way, happened with a loss at the Braves, a 5-2 loss in Atlanta on May 13th. So 17-26. And at that point, things could really spiral downward. And instead, the Nats respond here with this stretch of 6 victories in 7 games. I think that's very significant that you take something as bad as a 7-game losing streak and you respond to it with almost the exact opposite of that, right? Winning 6 out of 7 games. So the Nats offense has gotten back on track here. The Nats in this game on Thursday evening, 8 runs, 12 hits, 4 walks, 6 for 16 with runners in scoring position. The 12 hits, a triple, 2 doubles, and 9 singles. The Nats scored 7 runs over the first 4 innings, including a 4-run second. The Nats ripped Brave starting pitcher A.J. Smith-Shawver, who allowed 7 runs through 3 innings. I actually want to pause right there because this has been a real staple of the Nats during this stretch of 6 wins in 7 games. Early game offense. Smith-Shawver had his way with the Nats back in that series in Atlanta. Much different story in this game, and it is becoming routine here. The Nats scoring early and often.
This is wild because we were just talking a week ago about how they could not do any damage against opposing starters. It was 8 consecutive games that they didn't score more than 2 runs against any of them, and it's now 4 straight where they've scored not just at least that many, but they've scored at least 4 runs within the first 2 innings of every one of those games, and a couple of those even more than that, 7 on back-to-back days. This has been quite the turn of events, and nice to see the adjustment they made from facing Smith-Shawver last week to come right back, face him again, and string together some good at-bats. This was not one of those, hey, they get a couple of big long balls and that's how they score their runs. No, this was sustained offense. They were at one point in this game 7 for 10 with a walk against him. It was stringing hits together. It was a big-time clutch hit from James Wood to clear the bases for a double. But really, you had good quality at-bats from almost everybody in the lineup the first 2 innings of this game.
Amed Rosario was the walk-off hero. He had a walk-off pinch RBI single into left field in the bottom of the 10th. I tell you, Amed Rosario has done a nice job in limited playing time for the Nats. He, for this regular season, over 86 plate appearances now, has an OPS of 776. Another good moment for him in this game on Thursday evening. But the headline of the game, in many ways, was the Major League regular season debut of outfielder Robert Hassell III. The Nats on Wednesday afternoon announced having recalled Hassell from AAA Rochester. This is the corresponding roster move to putting outfielder Dylan Cruz on the 10-day injured list with a left oblique strain. Hassell, the Nats' number 11 prospect per MLB Pipeline, one of the 5 prospects who the Nats got in the trade of outfielder Juan Soto and first baseman Josh Bell to the San Diego Padres on that infamous day, August 2nd, 2022, what was 2022 MLB trade deadline day, and Hassell in this debut served as the Nats starting center fielder and number 7 batter and did quite well. 2 for 5 with 2 singles, and he had a stolen base. He became the first Nats player since the franchise moved to Washington, D.C. to, in his Major League regular season debut, have at least 2 hits and have at least 1 stolen base. Hassell in the Nats' 4-run second in his first Major League regular season plate appearance, a leadoff first pitch single into right field. Not bad. He walked up to Snoop Dogg and then sees one pitch and laces a single. And he has a steal of second base. And Hassell in the bottom of the 7th, a 2-out opposite field single into left field on a 1-2 pitch. Nice job, Robert Hassell III.
He plays with some swagger, and so maybe that's fitting of his choice of walk-up music. Very aggressive, but I also liked his explanation of why he went after the first pitch that he saw. He said, these guys know the story. They know he's making his Major League debut. They've got a scouting report on him at AAA. They've faced him there as an organization before, and he said, they're probably going to come right after me. And so he said, if I get a good pitch, I'm going after it. And he did that, kind of winning the chess match against them, and then aggressively stealing second, coming through with the opposite field hit later on. That's really his strength, is going the other way, and then scores the winning run as well. So you kind of saw everything he can do. He played a solid center field for them. This was in many ways, like a dream scenario. I mean, maybe it wasn't anything dramatic from him, but that's not necessarily who he is. He's a good quality hitter when he's going well, who runs the bases well, plays good defense, a good complementary player. And I know he was thrilled with it, and most importantly, thrilled that his major league debut ended with a victory.
Well, we don't know how long he's going to be up at the major league level for. If he performs poorly, this may be a short stint. If he performs well and the likes of Dylan Crews and Jacob Young remain out, then Hassell could be here to stay. Crews, as mentioned now, is on the 10-day IL, and Young remains out with this left shoulder injury. And it's been a few days now. You wonder if the Nats, maybe in retrospect, should have put him on the 10-day IL. We'll see. I did want to bring this up, though, with Crews. So the ailment is not a back injury, as was first said, although there was some wiggle room when the Nats said that. It's not like they firmly declared it was a back injury. It's an oblique injury. And when I saw that, I said, oh boy, because we know how nasty and how long to recover from oblique injuries can be. Heck, Andres Chaparro has been out, it feels like forever, with an oblique injury. Do we have any sense on how severe this oblique injury for Dylan Crews is believed to be?
It's funny you mentioned Chaparro because he just so happened to finally debut for Rochester on a rehab assignment tonight. And that is just over 2 months since he got hurt. And I asked Davey Martinez, who was really not offering up any specifics about a timeline for Crews. I said, well, kind of compared to Chaparro, do you feel like it's as serious, not as serious? And he sort of deflected that one and didn't have much to say on that. Now, my sense, and this is just from having watched both of those guys when it happened, Chaparro really looked like he was in agony when he took that swing during batting practice in spring training. And I felt like at that time, I think everybody understood immediately, it's going to be a while for him. And it's maybe taken even longer than initially expected. I feel like in Cruz's case, his reaction was not as dramatic. He obviously stayed in the game briefly after that to run the bases. He says he'd been dealing with at least some discomfort for about a week prior to that check swing. So I kind of want to believe that it's not as significant as Chaparro's, and we're not talking about something that's going to take 2 months, but we really don't have a firm answer on that. And I suppose some of that is legitimate uncertainty. These are the kind of injuries you just have to sort of wait until it feels good and you slowly start trying to do some different things with your body and see how it responds to it. This is the kind of injury you have to be very careful not to push it too fast. You try to take a full swing before it's healed, you can suffer a much more significant injury. It basically occurs from swings, violent swings. So I imagine they will be very careful, but what that means timeline, weeks, months, it's really hard to say at this point. I'm not sure anybody knows.
And with Jacob Young, so he hurt his left shoulder in the Nats' 10-6 win at the Orioles this past Saturday. This win over the Braves was on Thursday evening. I know he's not playing particularly well, so whether like he would be playing, we don't know, but where is he at with this injury? And in hindsight, should the Nats have put him on the 10-day IL?
It is still bothering him. He's good for everything except the swing. It's the follow through on the swing that he can't get the full extension in his left arm and with the shoulder. And so I think until they're confident of that, and I suppose he's been getting better each day. He's been trying to take some swings, but it wasn't quite there yet on Thursday. We'll see about Friday. That would be day 6 already by Friday. Now, you could say, well, they should have made a move earlier. I don't think they knew it was going to be this long. I'm thinking they still believe it's going to be fewer than 10 days in the long run. And so an IL stint wouldn't have been necessary. And truthfully, what other move are they going to make at this point? They've been getting by, with what they have. So I think they're okay in that regard. But whenever Jacob Young comes back, whether it's in the next day or whether it's, another week or more, I think there's renewed pressure on him now to perform, to retain his spot. Now, Crews is out, so there is room for both Jacob Young and Robert Hassell, especially because Alex Call has cooled off quite a bit since his torrid start to the season. So there probably is room for them to proceed with Young in center and Hassell in right. But eventually they're going to be healthy again in the outfield, and somebody's going to be the odd man out. And that somebody could be Jacob Young if he does not first get back on the field, but number 2, start hitting better.
And from a roster transaction standpoint, you can only backdate an IL move 3 days, right?
Correct. So at this point, they've already lost time if they were going to do that. I really don't sense that it's that bad that they would end up missing 10 days. I think we're, a day or 2 away from this, but, it is still an issue. At least it was on Thursday.
Hey, are you a law firm partner or associate looking to transition to a new firm because of compensation, or your firm recently committed to $100 million in pro bono work that you disagree with? Or maybe your firm is employing people like Jurix and Profar while your competitor firms are using torpedo bats and smoking the competition. If this sounds like you should explore the lateral market and give Mason Kalfas a call. Mason is the top legal recruiter in the Washington, D.C. area. He has been a Nats Chat podcast advertiser since the beginning of our show. Mason will work with you to create a marketing and business plan to pitch to new firms and dramatically increase your compensation and or day-to-day happiness in your new job. Mason has placed partners and associates in just about every large law firm in D.C. and New York, and he can provide plenty of testimonials from candidates he has placed on the outstanding service that they received. You need a strong advocate in your corner to find the best law firm out there for your future career. Call Mason Kalfas today, 202-486-3535.
Here's the set. And the pitch swung on, a line drive into center field. That's a base hit. Abrams scores from third. Wood is being held. The throw from Harris cut off behind the mound by the first baseman Olson. And so the Nationals regain the lead as Keibert Ruiz singles to center. He drives in his second run of the game, scoring Abrams. Runners on first and third with still one out, and Luis Garcia Jr. coming to the plate. The Nationals back in front here in the bottom of the fourth inning. It's Washington 6 and Atlanta 5.
Well, we talked about Robert Hassell III. Like him, James Wood was acquired in the Juan Soto trade. And oh, by the way, Wood on Thursday evening had a big game. It's funny with what Hassell did, with the nature of this game, with Keibert Ruiz's parents in attendance. I feel like what Wood did in this game kind of gets lost, but Wood got on base 4 times. He is an starting left fielder and number 2 batter. Went 2 for 3 with a 3-run double, a single, and 2 walks. He and the Nats 4-run second had a bases loaded 3-run double down the right field line on an 0-2 pitch, no less, for a 5-2 Nats lead. More great hitting from James Wood. He, for this regular season, is number 1 among all qualified Nats players in OPS, 934, 1 point ahead of shortstop C.J. Abrams, who is at 933. We have a good back and forth going on between those two guys in terms of the OPS lead for the Nats right now. And I mentioned Keibert Ruiz. What an evening for him. He is the Nats starting catcher and cleanup batter. Went 2 for 5 with an RBI double and an RBI single. This with his parents in attendance from Venezuela as they attended a game in which he played for the first time in terms of his MLB career. Ruiz in the Nats 1-run first, a 1-out RBI double off the right field wall to cut the Nats deficit to 2-1. I know you got a chance to talk to Keibert Ruiz's parents after the game, and them being in attendance at this game, not such a simple situation. This took some work.
This is a pretty remarkable story, and I think it reminds us all what these international players, Latin American players, have to go through, not just for themselves, but their families as well. So Jose and Ladies Ruiz from Venezuela, they had not seen their son play, not just in the big leagues. They had not seen their son play in person since 2015, they believe. So you're talking a full decade. In that time, as Keibert was playing in the minor leagues, originally signed by the Dodgers, ultimately traded to the Nationals, and now a big league regular the last several years. They applied for a visa 5 times. The first 4 times they were denied. Kind of losing hope. They finally, on the 5th try, within the last week, got the approval and were able to fly out here. First time in the United States. They were seated right behind the plate. You saw the emotions that they had watching their son not just playing, but delivering an RBI single in the first inning. And you could see it was just that perfect. It was a great job by the Masson crew getting their reaction and cutting to Keibert waving at them from second base. Just remarkable. If you weren't, emotionally pulled by that, I don't know what to say. And talking to them afterwards, they were just ecstatic, emotional, crying, laughing at the same time. They got to see their granddaughter in person for the first time because she has not been back there. Now, Keibert goes back every winter, at least for a little bit, to see them, but they had not been able to come out themselves. And it's a very complicated process. It's only gotten more complicated here in recent years with Venezuela and the United States. So you couldn't help but feel for them and understand what this kind of moment meant for them. and meant for Keibert. And now the plan, they're going to stay. They said as long as they are allowed, they're going to stick around here, even though they still have family, including a 15-year-old son back home in Venezuela who's trying to become a ball player himself.
Well, as Davey Martinez joked during his post-game press conference, let's have Keibert Ruiz's parents at every game if Keibert Ruiz is going to perform like this. So the Nats bullpen, which of course had been rather bad, has been a lot better lately. And that has been a big part of the Nats winning 5 consecutive games and 6 out of 7 games. Now, this 8-7-10 inning win over the Braves on Thursday evening, a bit of a complicated story with the pen. 6 Nats relievers officially combined to allow 2 runs, both of which were unearned in 6 into 3rd innings. But there were some bad moments for the bullpen in this game. Brad Lord officially tossed 1 1/3 scoreless innings with 3 swinging strikeouts. But he, to the first batter he faced, issued a 2-out bases-loaded walk of Alex Verdugo to tie the game at 5 in the top of the 4th. Cole Henry was good again. Man, with the exception of one outing, he has been fabulous as a reliever. He tossed a perfect top of the 6th. Jose A. Ferrer, who had been doing well, he in this game in the top of the 7th allowed a run, which was unearned, but that was due to a throwing error by Ferrer. Jorge Lopez was good. He tossed a perfect top of the 8th. But Kyle Finnegan, he allowed a run, which was unearned in 1 inning in blowing the save chance in the top of the 9th. He was failed by his defense. Finnegan gave up a leadoff pinch single by Sean Murphy into left field on a grounder that got by shortstop C.J. Abrams. Then we had Nats third baseman Jose Tena committing a 1-out fielding error on a grounder off the bat of Austin Riley. Then Finnegan gave up a 1-out RBI double by Matt Olson off the right center field wall, though in this case we had some good Nats defense because Austin Riley got thrown out at home. So, you had some bad defense, some good defense, but ultimately a 1-run Braves 9th. Finnegan unable to get the job done. But Jackson Rutledge was good. He tossed a scoreless top of the 10th. 6 Nationals relievers end up being used in this game. The Nats, of course, coming off the unscheduled off day on Wednesday with the rain out. Do have another off day coming up. No game on Monday, Memorial Day. So Davey Martinez, in theory, can be a little aggressive here with his reliever usage. But a lot to take in with what happened with the Nats bullpen in this game.
Yeah, it was a lot. But look, they asked a lot. 6 1/3 innings, as it turns out, from them because Trevor Williams didn't make it through the 4th. I didn't love having to put Lord out there with the bases loaded. This is a guy who's not used to pitching out of the bullpen. So you're asking him to inherit 3 runners, facing a pretty good established big league hitter in Alex Verdugo, and he walks him. And yeah, you don't want to issue the walk. You rather give up the hit, if anything. But, I'll give him a little bit of a pass on that. And then to his credit, comes right back and strikes out Austin Riley. So at least he minimized that, didn't let it get to be any worse. So that was fine. Ferrer, you could feel that error coming from the moment he went to chase down the ball. It felt like just this has disaster written all over it. And sure enough, the wild throw that then leads to that run. And as far as Finnegan's concerned, I mean, look, he should have been out of the game. The game should have been over because that's a tailor-made 5-4-3 double play that would have ended the game. Tena, who let's at first acknowledge has looked really, really good at third base, especially compared to what we saw from him last year. So this was a rare exception, but I do believe it was a case where he sensed the double play and is thinking about that before he actually had secured the ball. Couldn't get a handle on it, couldn't make the throw to second or to first to prolong that. Now, yes, Finnegan did give up the double to Olson moments later. You'd like for him to overcome that and not give up that kind of hit that would tie the game. But as you point out, great defense. That was a perfectly executed relay from Call to Garcia to Ruiz to get the runner at the plate and at least keep it as a tie game to give them a chance as they move forward. So, no, not a perfect night, but that was a lot they were asking out of a lot of relievers. And in the grand scheme of things, even if they were earned runs, 2 runs in 6 1/3 innings from a bullpen, I think you'll take that pretty much any night of the week.
Well, and the outing does help the overall bullpen ERA because it goes down as 6 1/3 scoreless innings. I do want to, again, shine the spotlight here on Cole Henry. I mean, he had the really bad game against the Mets. I think it was 5 runs in 1 inning. Even with that in the mix, Henry's stats now for this regular season, 15 games, 17 1/3 innings, an ERA at 2.60. And more telling than that, I think, is the whip, 0.92. Relievers with their ERAs can be misleading because it doesn't count inherited runners. But whip, I think, it can actually be more telling, right? Are you putting guys on base? Henry's not doing that at all. 0.92, just tremendous. He has 18 strikeouts versus 6 walks. And Jackson Rutledge overall has been good too. His ERA is at 2.61. He's put some guys on base. But man, Henry, this might be a revelation here what the Nats are getting from this guy as a reliever.
I'm going to make a bold prediction here. You heard it here first on May 22nd. I will predict that when the season ends, Cole Henry is the Nationals closer. And I'm saying that, and I hope it's not the case. Most people hope it's not the case, that they trade Kyle Finnegan at the deadline, that they're not close enough to the wild card race to feel like they keep him, and knowing that he's a pending free agent, that they get what they can for him at the deadline and somebody else has to take over. Right now, I see Cole Henry as a more viable closing option than Jose Ferrer because of the consistency, the great stuff, a devastating breaking ball that he throws, and he just seems to have the right mindset for this. It might be a lot to ask, and again, personally, I hope, and I'm sure all of you out there listening hope that that's not the case, because if the team's good enough, then you keep Finnegan, and now you've got multiple quality relievers late in games. But I'm going to predict that if things continue on this path, that Finnegan is traded at the deadline and that Cole Henry actually ends the season as the Nationals closer.
Well, Willie Finnegan, I hope you were listening. Mark has your son being shipped off the team and has him being replaced by Cole Henry as the Nationals closer. Willie, that was Mark who said that, not myself. So I want that duly noted by you. Hey, it's Al Galdi for Window Nation. May is officially here, and so are the rising temperatures. Before you know it, you'll be wondering what else you can do to keep cool during the dog days of summer. Beat the heat and keep the AC in your home with Window Nation's energy-efficient vinyl windows. During Window Nation's semi-annual sale, buy 4 windows, get 4 windows free, and a free entry door when you purchase a house full of windows. Plus, no money down, no interest, and no monthly payments until 2027. That's a whole lot of savings and a super smart investment, especially when prices are rising. So how exactly does Window Nation keep prices affordable? Well, Window Nation works directly with the top window manufacturers in the country, which means all of Window Nation's windows are assembled right here in the USA. Plus, Window Nation windows come with a lifetime warranty, so you'll keep saving long into the future. Window Nation's semi-annual sale ends on May 31st. Buy 4 windows, get 4 windows free, and a free entry door when you purchase a house full of windows, plus pay nothing until 2027. Schedule your estimate right now at 866-90NATION or visit windownation.com. That's 866-90NATION or windownation.com, and tell Window Nation that Al Galdi from the Nats Chat podcast sent you.
Life as a small business owner, everything is your problem and there aren't enough hours in the day. That's where LinkedIn Jobs, and by proxy Nats Chat, are here to help. For those crucial hires that you absolutely can't whiff on, turn to LinkedIn Jobs. Simply post your job and LinkedIn will take it from there, making sure it gets in front of the properly qualified candidates who are searching themselves. Find out why more than 2.5 million small business owners have turned to LinkedIn Jobs to grow their staff. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/natschat. That's linkedin.com/natschat to post your jobs for free. linkedin.com/natschat. Terms and conditions apply.
The 1-1. Swing a line drive deep left field. Back goes Wood to the track looking up, and the Braves go back to back. That one about 2 rows in right down the left field line. That's the Braves 2 and the Nationals nothing. Ozuna hits home run number 9.
We had the Nats bullpen doing what it did in this game, and we had what starting pitcher Trevor Williams did in this game. And if there was a glaring negative to this Nats 8-7 10-inning victory over the Braves on Thursday evening, it was Williams having another bad outing. I don't know what there is left to see here in terms of like him remaining in the rotation. I don't know what the case is at this point. You have Brad Lord. You have, oh, by the way, Cade Cavalli, who had a nice start for AAA Rochester on Thursday evening. Williams is really struggling. He in this game officially allowed 5 runs in 3 2/3 innings. He gave up 4 hits, which were 2 home runs and 2 singles. He issued 3 walks. He recorded 3 strikeouts. He, over his mere 3 2/3 innings, threw 82 pitches. 51 strikes, 31 balls. He, in the top of the first, allowed 2 runs on back-to-back 2-out solo homers by Matt Olson and Marcell Ozuna. Trevor Williams now for this regular season, 10 starts, ERA of 6.39, a whip of 1.56. I was looking at stats for all qualified Major League starting pitchers. Here's the bottom line. You can make the case Trevor Williams has quantifiably been the worst starting pitcher in the majors. We danced this dance with Patrick Corbin over these last few seasons. We thought we were done with using phrases like arguably the worst starting pitcher in the majors or worst starting pitcher in the majors. We're right back to saying that here with how bad Trevor Williams has been. And I just don't know what the reason is to keep him in the rotation at this point. We've talked about Brad Lord, Cade Cavalli. He on Thursday evening in a 6-4 win for the Nats AAA affiliate, the Rochester Red Wings at the Syracuse Mets. Allowed 1 run in 5 innings, 5 strikeouts versus 1 walk. I know Cavalli hasn't necessarily been lights out for Rochester here, but you know the idea is for him to be back at the major league level at some point soon. Do you think we're nearing the end of Williams' time in the rotation, or are you not getting that sense?
Well, I was thinking the exact same thing that you just said, a few seconds ago. I thought, I'm sure you thought, I know Tim thought that we were never going to have to talk again about a Nats veteran starting pitcher with an ERA over 6 being kept in the rotation essentially just because of his contract, not because of performance. And yet, here we are again. I don't think it's the exact same situation as Corbin, but I do think there are, unfortunately, some similarities there. He's signed not just for this year, but for next year. For this team, it's a sizable salary number and contract. And just beyond any of that, I do think they view him, and David Martinez views him as the quote-unquote leader of the rotation. Not from a performance standpoint, but from an experience standpoint, because pretty much everyone else in that rotation does not have that. Now, I sort of asked Davey the question, how do you navigate this moving forward? And his answer was pretty simple. He says, Trevor's my 5th starter. Now, there could come a point here, yes, especially in Cavalli's case, where he clearly is ready. And this is somebody that they have openly said they want to see in the big leagues pitching for them this year. And so when that happens, maybe that is the thing that prompts them to make a move. But right now, I see them coming up with a lot of the same rationale, right or wrong, for keeping Trevor Williams in their rotation that we heard for years with Patrick Corbin, and that's a very discouraging thing to have to say.
Boy, that is just ridiculous. Patrick Corbin signed a 6-year, $140 million contract. Trevor Williams got a 2-year, $14 million contract. $14 million over 2 years in today's MLB. That's peanuts. If you can't move that guy to the bullpen, what are we talking about here? That is crazy to me. Okay. I mean, ERA is approaching 7 at this point. I'm not sure what exactly is the point here. By the way, I thought about this. Brad Lord comes into the game for Trevor Williams. We've talked about Lord as a candidate to replace Williams. Bases are loaded. Lord issues a walk. The run is charged to Williams. You could argue that helps the cause of Brad Lord. If you are a conspiracy theorist, do you suggest that Brad Lord purposely issued that walk in order to inflate the ERA of Trevor Williams? Are there any Nats conspiracy theorists listening to this podcast right now? Are you buying that theory?
I don't know about that theory, but it did occur to me, the irony, I suppose, that the Lord could not be the savior that Williams needed him to be when he handed him the bases loaded and wound up allowing the run to score that was charged to him. A little bit of nice little wordplay on that one, we'll just say.
Well, unfortunate for Trevor Williams, another bad start. Look, we're rooting for the guy, want to see him do well, and he did do well last season. But the thing to remember about that was only based on 13 starts. So, you can't put too much stock into what he did last season. It was great what he did, but it was 13 starts. So to me, it's like you can't be too married to that. You can't be too wedded to that. We saw what he did in a much larger sample size in 2023, and that, unfortunately, may be closer to what he is. And the other thing with Williams is we know his background prior to signing with the Nats was as kind of a combo starter reliever, and he has actually done pretty well in that role. So I feel like, maybe there's some untapped production there from Trevor Williams because we've never really seen him in that role for the Nats. He's been basically a starting pitcher throughout his time with the Nats.
Yeah, and, we've thought all along, like, hey, it made sense. I made the valid argument at the end of the season. I feel like it would be a good idea for them to re-sign Trevor Williams, not necessarily to be a full-time starter, but to be a swing man, a long reliever in the bullpen, something we thought they needed, and be able to fill in as a starter if you need it. As of right now, on this team, he is a full-time starter. There certainly could come a point here where it's clear that he shouldn't be anymore, but just based on what I was hearing after this game and, in general, the sense I get of how they view him within the clubhouse, that is not the role they envision for him at this moment.
Boy, a 2-year, $14 million contract serving as an albatross. Where are we right now when it comes to the ownership/payroll situation with this team? All right, well, this installment of Nats Chat brought to us by Mason Kalfas, the top legal recruiter in Washington, D.C. Perhaps Mason can get to the bottom of this Trevor Williams scenario. Mason has been with us since our first season. You can reach him at 202-486-3535. So the Nats get this 2-game sweep of the Braves. Next up, 3-game series against the San Francisco Giants at Nationals Park. Game 1 Friday evening, 6:45. Mackenzie Gore will be the Nats starting pitcher. Game 2 Saturday afternoon at 4:05. Jay Gervin will be the Nats starting pitcher. Game 3 Sunday afternoon at 1:35. Michael Soroka will be the Nats starting pitcher. You tell us what you think. You can hit us up on X at Nats_chat. You can hit us up on Blue Sky at Nats Chat Podcast. You can email the show, natschatpodcast@gmail.com. All Nationals radio highlights on Nats Chat are courtesy of 106.7 The Fan. For Mark Zuckerman, I'm Al Galdi. We thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next time on the Nats Chat Podcast.
He is soaking it in.
Big lead.
There he goes. Pitch is taken low. The throw by Baldwin. The feet first slide. Hassell is safe. So he's got his first big league stolen base 2 pitches after his first big league hit.